My name is Grace Campbell. I am familiar with Communities for Restorative Justice through my father, who is actively involved in the program. I know many of the offenders are teenagers like myself, so this is a very valuable program for them to go through. I have been asked to interview some of the volunteers who are involved.
A neighbor called me and said she would like me to participate as a community member in a case because of my connection to the Human Rights Council. Now, the Human Rights Council, as you probably know, sponsors every year the Holocaust Memorial Observance. And this case involved graffiti of a swastika on public property. So the person running the circle wanted me to speak to that as not only as a community member, but someone who has familiarity with the Holocaust. This particular offender was too young to have had any kind of background on this. He so he hadn't gone through the Facing History program yet. And I thought, oh, this is what I've been thinking I'd like to do someday. Mm-hmm. Sure, I'll go and participate, which meant I was part of the opening circle and the closing circle. It was an amazing experience. A young kid who really just didn't understand what he'd done came around in the process of those 8 weeks. Again, I wasn't working with him as a facilitator, so I didn't know what was being said. Mm-hmm. But he ended up bonding with one of the people that he had offended and with whom he was doing some community service. And he continued to work with him after the whole process was over. It was an amazing community experience. That was a little over 8 years ago. Wow. So I joined officially and was trained and have been at it ever since.
Mm-hmm. What other aspects of this would you say that you have enjoyed?
I think the learning process, and I don't like to do things repetitively just because I know how to do them. Mm-hmm. In actual fact, I would say that in restorative justice, you never really know how to do it because every one of us is different. Mm-hmm. And each offender that I've worked with and their families, and the families can be tricky too, they're all different. So you have to adjust, and you have to learn, and you have to keep asking questions of yourself as well as other people. And that I've enjoyed that. I've also really, really loved, this is one of the reasons I do the work, the almost tribal aspect of community caring that is represented in this work. Mm-hmm. Who else should be taking care of our community? But it's the community itself. Right. Our justice system is so broad and so impersonal. One of the things I've really, really enjoyed is the police contribution to this. Not only are they buying it, but when they sit in those circles, their presence is extraordinary. They're serious. They're clear. They have a reminding power that the offender is this close to going into court. Mm-hmm. And going into the big time, getting a record, all this kind of stuff. And we have fabulous police working with these kids. They know how to speak to them without being they don't baby these kids at all. Yeah. And I have to confess that my husband got so sick of my enthusiasm that he's now on the board. I'd sort of like to get him to be a facilitator, but he can't maybe do both. Mm-hmm.
I've been through a lot of trainings in my life, and this one was very professional, very, really well done, very interesting. The last one I was at was amazing. One of the offenders really got it. She was just hearing from the victim and just really so sincerely apologized. I mean, you could just feel it wasn't an act. when I first got involved, I thought, oh, maybe people will just be acting just so they can stay out of jail. But some of them, most of them really get it. Well, like I said, the opportunity to be part of the community and feel that I'm making a difference and helping the offenders to get their life together and not have a record, helping the victims to get some resolution because they don't get it from the court system. Hopefully it's helpful.
Yeah.
Just try it. Go to the training. The training's really fun. And see if you like people, if you like, if you want to do something different, just try it.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I had never heard of restorative justice, and I got trained to do volunteer mediation in the courts. That was something that was interesting to me. And my pastor at my church had heard about restorative justice and had specifically heard about C4RJ and knew that they were sort of spreading to some communities, including ours. And she thought that would be something that I'd be interested in. So I looked into it, and I think the same thing that drew me to mediation is sort of what drew me to C4RJ. It's a better way of doing things, is how I always put it. And in the case of restorative justice, it's a better way of handling crime in the community. Sure. I think the training did a very good job preparing me for being a volunteer with C4RJ. I think, like a lot of people, I didn't know a lot about restorative justice going in, and I'd read a little and heard a little, but I think you can read about it only so much, and you get it, but maybe you don't really get it until you see a circle, or even better, participate in a circle. And so the training had several mock circles that we would participate in, and that really drove it home. After that, you really get it. In those circles, you might be you play a role. You might be a victim or an offender or a facilitator, and the emotions and the experience of the circle felt very real. And once I actually got into real cases and did circles, I was taken by how similar it was to those training circles. I think I'm most surprised and inspired by both the victims and the offenders. The opening circles that we have, often the first time that they're face to face, it's full of emotion and it's powerful. And their willingness and their ability to work with those emotions and work hard at making the process work is inspiring. As a volunteer, I take a cue from them, and I see what they're willing to come and do, and to face all of these things that they're feeling. I see them willing to do that. It inspires me as a volunteer.